Arole Mankowski is a rarity because he combined two qualities which usually don't go together. He's a VC and he's a very nice person. The first time I met him, I asked him, Arole, what have you done in the army? He told me I was a pilot. I told him, how could you be a pilot? You know, in the airplanes, in the army, the space is very small. He told me I was a pilot of a helicopter. Thank you. Okay, gentlemen, why don't we start by the two of you introducing yourself?
Sure. My name is Steve Phillpott, CIO for Western Digital. Western Digital, for those that are somewhat familiar, has gone through quite a bit of transformation here over the last several years. We're now the combination of Western Digital, which is more legacy consumer products, HGST, which was the original IBM. So if you remember back in the late 50s and 60s, those disk drives that were the size of like a washing machine, that division of IBM was sold to Hitachi, and we bought it as HGST. And then the third one is SanDisk, which brings our flash systems and also gives us our resources and engineering in Israel at 3 sites there.
And SanDisk, which Israeli company it bought?
It was what?
It bought an Israeli company.
Yes, we bought SanDisk. So SanDisk is now part of
But which company SanDisk bought?
M-Systems.
Oh, M-Systems. Yeah.
M-System.
Yeah.
What do you mean? M-System is an Israeli company.
Yeah.
We are not interested, about Western Digital. We're interested about the Israeli component.
USB drives.
And M-System, what did M-System invented?
Yeah, the USB drives.
The USB drive, right.
Yep.
And what was the name of the inventor?
That I don't know.
Dov Moran.
Okay.
Okay? That's very good. So a round of applause for Western Digital.
Okay.
Israelis are the only ones who still call it a disk on key. I think everyone else calls it USB.
And now Jonathan.
Hey, doing? Thanks for having me. Jonathan Pulitzer, Managing Director.
They didn't hear. What is your last name?
Pulitzer. Pulitzer, like the prize.
Okay. And what are you doing?
So I lead the investment activities in Israel for GE Ventures.
For how long?
I've been in Israel now, leading that for 7 years.
7 years.
Yeah, I'm one of the founding investors of our team.
And before that?
I was with GE actually doing similar investing, but in the US.
In the US. And what you have done before your current job?
I was in diapers.
No, I'm asking him.
I've been in technology for 20 or 30 years. The company beforehand, I was actually in the pharmaceutical industry. We did drugs for the prevention and cure of diabetes.
Really?
Yes.
Very good. And what is more interesting, the health space or the solid state drives?
Well, they both have their interesting aspects. From the health side, you're actually dealing with things that are kind of, potentially saving people's lives. On the Western Digital side, with the acquisitions that we've done, more than approximately half the world's data is running on one of our devices. So if you think about all the things that data is being leveraged for, that is also pretty exciting. All the way from the healthcare side to autonomous driving that we saw, just the innovation that's being created by access to that data is very exciting.
Good. So Jonathan, what is your experience? It's the topic is the new industrial revolution, right? But can you repeat what the guidelines I gave the two of you before just to make sure that you are...
He basically said, give entertainment, not facts, and go along and laugh at everything you say.
Right. I told him that people are not interested in facts because what they give as fact are also being invented. You know that 73% of all statistics cited on stage is being invented on the spot.
Including that one.
Yeah. Okay, so tell us about the activity of GE in Israel.
Yeah, sure. So as we talked about kind of the broader innovation happening in the world, we're a big legacy industrial company that's also experiencing this digital transformation. It's 70% of the time you get on a plane, you're flying on a jet engine. 40% of electricity made in the world is made by GE. And so what we're looking at is how do we bring in technologies and business models that are actually in many ways coming from other industries and really influencing and transforming the industries that we're playing in. So in Israel, we've been pretty active. We have 9 current investments in our local Israeli portfolio. We've had a number of exits over the last couple of years. Globally, it's about 65 investments in the portfolio. So Israel's our main international geography.
What are your investments in Israel, if I may ask?
Sure, we can go through one by one if you'd like, but some of the ones around industrial.
If you can say it very fast. Then.
Sure, Empress, Nexar, i3 Equity, Evolution Networks, Morphisec, Theteray, Metaware, Equilum. I'm not counting.
What is the lousiest investment that you have done in Israel that you personally responsible for? That's a fair question.
That's fair. We had a write-off of a company in the LiDAR space, which actually
in the what space?
LiDAR, which you saw probably Innoviz raised $131 million yesterday because they're going after the automotive.
Yesterday you wrote it off.
No, so I didn't do that investment, but we invested in a company in the LiDAR technology, but we didn't pivot fast enough, so they were going after the renewable energy space in the wind industry, trying to partner with GE, actually, because we are the largest US manufacturer of wind blades, of wind turbines, and we tried to deploy their technology into our systems. That industry is just evolving pretty slowly, and we didn't pivot the company fast enough into the hot automotive space. Who would have thought 5 years ago?
And I think that's part of the challenge right now is you've got a rate and pace in this industrial, kind of innovation, and then how do you compare that to these legacy companies, which are at a totally different rate and pace? And so on the industrial manufacturing side, we've got environments that are moving at a 10, 20-year pace. I was talking to a guy yesterday, and he was talking about still depreciating equipment over a 20 or 30-year period. Well, that's a different rate and pace than all the technology we've seen in the last day and a half. And I think that's part of the challenge in kind of this new industrial revolution is how do we marry the rate and pace of innovation that's out there right now to what's inside our factories, what's inside environments. Now this probably applies to more of the legacy type companies, vice the digitally born companies.
Right, no, I'll just say, how many systems that we've deployed are actually still operating on Windows NT?
Yeah,
right?
And I just cleaned up OS 2 out of mine.
and this really is the challenge. I saw a really interesting study from Deloitte. They surveyed 2,000 C-suite executives, and basically only 14% said their companies are actually truly ready for Industrial 4.0, and that number actually came down by 100%. It's down 50% year over year, which basically says there's a lot of potential, but the industry is moving pretty slowly in terms of access to technology and the ability to take risk and adopt.
Yeah, well, we saw it on the consumerization of IT, where all of a sudden the consumers had access to new technology at this rapid pace, and well, then the IT guys were like, what the heck is happening? How do we keep up? And now that IT, with the help of Amazon and software as a service and these other companies, now we can provide services much faster. Well, the next evolution is OT. So OT, industrial manufacturing, is how do we get that consumerization of IT and just kind of morph it to consumerization of OT?
Yeah, I frankly completely agree. You just look at the industries that have already.
Go on, my wife is on the phone. I must continue.
He's serious also. Yeah. You just look at kind of the transformation that's happened in the last 20 years, right? The consumer internet, financial services, media, right? But the reality is that actually only represents about 1/3 of global GDP, right? It's the other 2/3, the slower, the legacy industries that is ready. We think, my fundamental thesis is that the technology, the ability to access data, extract value from data, process that data, and then impact it with business models that are coming from some of those other markets. He's actually, I don't know what's going on here.
Does she want to join in?
Yeah, anything interesting to say?
She has a question.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and then, the other thing we just talked about in one of the previous panels, I think it was Aaron when he was doing the introduction, he talked about how we're kind of repeating the past and the technology's changing. And, you think about the example of, cloud computing and bursting capability. Well, we kind of did that in the 90s, or we started to do that in the 90s. We just called it something different. We called it grid computing back there, and back there it was the SETI project, S-E-T-I, and it was a search for extraterrestrial intelligence. And what they did was they did grid computing by taking all these workloads and pushing it out to all the unused cycles on people's laptops. Well, now we just do that in the cloud. So 6 months ago, we had the ability, or in Western Digital, we ran Amazon's world's largest commercial workload. We ran 1 million cores to do engineering simulation. Now, between compute, storage, networking, we just saw 5G capability. We're going to have the ability to do things in our industrial manufacturing area that we've never, ever had the capability to do. And how do we harness it?
I think the question is do our manufacturing kind of plant managers, COOs, ready to adopt that and take on the autonomy, the things of that sort that will come along with some of those capabilities?
And that'll be that personal change management that comes with any of these technology.
Right. And I think that's one of the challenges even when we look at kind of the entrepreneurial community that's playing in those sectors. I mean, this is why in many ways we often, when we make investments, we often pull from some of those other industries, the more technology consumer-oriented markets, because the folks that really truly understand industrial are not necessarily the same technology, entrepreneurial, fast growth minded folks. And that's why I think we're going to see this massive shift in kind of the personnel capabilities on both sides of the house in the coming years.
As those personnel are coming into those environments that have that they're asking those questions, well, why can't we do this?
Exactly.
They are going to fire me, no doubt. Nobody needs me anymore.
You're very needed. Always.
Tell me, Jonathan, I want to ask you a little bit of uncomfortable question.
You already asked me about my write-offs.
Oh, that was easy one. I'm now going to the how GE is going to structure itself in future in light of the future need of the fourth industrial revolution.
Yeah, so GE is going through a real transformation now. There's no secret, right? Our stock went from the low 30s to 10 or so, right?
Happened to the best of us.
Yeah,
all of us are.
Yeah,
First of all, I want.
We're a good company here.
I want to say something personally, really. I am, as I said a number of times, I'm celebrating, or I don't know, maybe it's not the right word, but in August I will be 50 years in business.
You started as an infant. That's amazing.
Yeah, I started at 69. Was the first company I created, and as a young person, I was what is called today geek. I was not interested in anything, just radio and electronics, etc. And of course, anybody who knows the history of General Electric was like kind of the iconic, the symbol of technology, the symbol of how technology can improve life, etc. I will ask you a question. In 25th of December 1878, 20,000 people went on a train which went from New York to a small town in New Jersey called Menlo Park. Anybody can guess why the 20,000 people went to Menlo Park?
Thomas Edison created a light bulb.
Venture capital, no, not
Thomas Edison, that's where he was, and he's working on the light bulb.
Yeah, and what happened in 25th of, you are good? On the 25th of December 1878, he lit his laboratory with electric light.
We don't make those anymore, right?
And you don't make them anymore, and you sold also the white goods to hire in China.
Yeah, so I think what you're seeing is,
but still the airplanes are running on your engines.
Yeah, so don't talk about the 737 MAX, right?
Right.
That's actually Boeing's issue, but that's a whole separate thing.
Why are you volunteering to take it upon yourself?
No, but I think actually that's a perfect example, and both our companies are certainly going through that. It's the evolution of product, right? And your go-to-market and how you think about technology. And thankfully, GE doesn't make light bulbs and white goods and low-margin product anymore, right? We're selling large systems and hopefully engaging with our customers at a different level, that it's no longer just selling large systems and CapEx, but it moves more to an OpEx model where it's more about service and uptime that we can guarantee. And that's where I think the company is sort of seeing the writing on the wall and adapting itself. I like to say we saw the Kodak moment, and that's not Kodak in a good way, right? It's they invented digital film and then did everything.
But still, you are quite.
But I think that's the opportunity, is the transformation. So even on the Western Digital side, we started doing circuit boards, back in the the 50s, and so here we are as the world's largest storage company. And it's important that during these kind of industrial revolutions that we transform, right, whether it's the technology or, like you said a minute ago, the people, changing along with it.
Agreed.
Tell me, in Israel, you are active in the health field, right?
Yeah, exactly. We bought a couple companies in the healthcare sector in Israel. A lot of our nuclear imaging is still based in Israel, and some software as well.
How many people you are employing in Israel?
About 600 in total. The key growth areas for us are actually much more on the technology side that we're talking about here. So particularly cybersecurity is an area that we built a 60-person lab. Yeah, industrial cybersecurity. And those are some of the areas we're growing in dramatically.
And how many people you are employing in Israel?
I think...
if you don't remember, just throw a number.
Yeah, no.
73% won't be real.
Yeah, 73%. I think in Israel, we're probably 2,000 plus or minus across 3 sites, Kfar Saba, Tefan, and is it Omar? So basically about 2,000 or so in Israel. Predominantly, they're engineers doing either hardware or software development for our flash
How
product.
is the quality of the engineers in Israel?
It's very good.
No, that's
Outstanding.
He wouldn't be here if not.
Yeah.
Try to use more superlatives.
Yeah.
Outstanding is not good enough.
Extremely outstanding.
Good, that's very good. And when is the last time you've been to Israel?
I was actually here last July, and actually as part of that trip, I extended it, and I brought my wife over, and so we spent about 5 days over there.
That's very good. How did she like Israel?
She loved it. Wants to come back again.
So bring her back.
We're gonna.
We need the business, the tourism business. Yoram from El Al, are you in the audience?
Yeah.
Yoram,
started to fly here.
Come here and take his business card.
Yeah.
Can you give your business card to Yoram? Yoram, come over.
I will when we're done here.
You get the customers one at a time.
Yes.
Here we go. This is a true Yossi panel.
Yes,
I know we've been on
This
one.
is a marketing moment.
Now that's an interactive panel.
Yeah, exactly.
Good. So
I assume we're getting free flights for that, rather for the promotions that we've just given El Al.
No, I paid him before.
Oh,
But you didn't pay us.
El Al deal is the following: you pay twice. One way, you get the back free.
oh, there we go.
Okay, unfortunately, the time is over, and I would like to thank very much the two speakers who have done a terrific job. They took over my role, and I could speak with my wife. Thank you very much, and we will see you in Israel when you bring your wife. Are you married?
Yes. I am.
How your wife like being in Israel for 7 years?
She loves it. It's great. We have 4 kids. It's amazing.
You have 4 kids, and how many you had when you came to Israel?
2.
2. So 4 minus 2 is 2. 7 years. So 1 kid every 3.5 years.
Guess you're part of my family planning now. This is great.
I have done them one.
You talked about getting very personal, so let's do it.
I have done them 1 every 2 years. So okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.